Hey guys, it's good to see you. I'm sorry I couldn't be there in class today, but instead I made this video that will help walk you through what I would have done with you if I was in class, and it will help Mrs. Stringer as well. So I hope you enjoy it. We've been working hard and you guys have been creating and designing things in Tinkercad and Google SketchUp. So now is the time to start our actual entrepreneur project. And the way that we're going to start that is by doing the design process. So this video is going to kind of walk you through day one of the design process. We'll do a screen recording on it, and you won't see my face, but you'll hear my lovely voice. Okay, so we will get started with that. As you guys watch the video, make sure that you pause at any point that you need to, and there's other points that I have you pausing and doing things as well. So looking forward to you guys using this video to see how it works for you and to see the designs that you start, the ideas that you start coming up with. So let's get started. Okay, here we go with design thinking. So here's a presentation that two of my coworkers made, Kayla and Kim, but I went through and actually adapted it to fit our needs. So I added a bunch of stuff that fits the needs of our class. Whoops. Okay, so first of all, why? Why are we doing this? Why are we doing the design thinking process? And why are we having you guys do this whole entrepreneur project in the first place? And so the reason that we are going to do this is it's so good for you. So throughout this whole process of the design process, if you see over here, over to the left-hand side, we have empathy, define, ideate, prototyping, and getting feedback. So this really is the idea of the whole design process. So why teach this to you? Why have you go through this and developing all of this? Simple, for all these reasons. So by doing the different areas as you see here, you're working on a lot of 21st century skills. These are things that we want to prepare you so that when you do go to the workforce or the real world and you start working and doing internships and different jobs, you're going to need these skills to help you to help you with the most success. So communication, critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, and then character, kind of who you are. I'm sure you've heard these before. So by doing all of these things, we're addressing those. Not only there, but then as you see all throughout it. So that is why we are doing this project with you guys. We really hope that it will help improve all of these things in all of these areas for you to make you little junior entrepreneurs yourselves. And an entrepreneur is somebody that it creates kind of their own idea and their own business. And so that defines what an entrepreneur is. So we'll look at here, what is design thinking? So this is where we're going to start today. We're going to look at the whole process of design thinking. And simply, what design thinking is it's a process for solving problems. So as you see this cool race car here, well, we have the paint splatters over to the left that show us that's our ideas. And that's when we get these ideas in our head. And we have these really great ideas, but they're not concrete, right? We can't hold on to them. They're not a true product. They're just ideas. So through the design process, we're actually looking at a problem, designing a solution, and then going it from it being a great idea in our head to forging it to becoming a real hard concrete reality, something that people could use and would benefit them. So that really is what the design process is. So here's how it looks. It is a process, okay? It is not linear. That means it doesn't go straight in a line. And so it kind of looks like it's in a line, but the idea is that it's kind of this cycle and it's always evolving and changing. So there's no definite end to the design process. You start somewhere, but there's no definite end. Even as you get closer to your final project, there's always going to be developing. You're always going to continue to develop it, and you're always going to evolve it and keep up with time. So that's helping you understand that this is a process. It is not just linear. We're not going to do one step, the next step, the next step, boom, we're done. No, this is going to be a cycle that you'll work through throughout the next couple of months. So here's our design process. We have empathy, And the star kind of indicates the area that we're going to look at. So we're going to look at empathy first. There's define, ideate, prototype, test, which is also like kind of testing, and then receiving feedback. So let's kind of take a look at empathy and what empathy is. So we see our little guy here with the heart, and there's empathy, okay? Iteration is basically, it's just, you see how it's getting an idea and working with that idea and brainstorming and continuing to come up with ideas. And so notice this again is a cycle, and it's not a linear, a straight line. So let's look at empathy, though. We're really going to focus on empathy. So look at this picture. When we look at this picture, I want you to just kind of take a minute to think about what you see, what you feel when you see this picture. Oops. There should be a timer on here. I will share the presentation with Mrs. Stringer, and she can use the timers if she needs to. But here's a baby. So when you look at this, what do you think about? So just take a minute to write it, and you guys could pause the video now to take some time to kind of write it if you have a notebook or maybe a piece of paper to kind of brainstorm some things on. So look at this guy and kind of think about, how does it make you, when you look at this picture, how does it make you feel? What do you see and how do you feel? Okay, so hopefully you guys paused it and you're starting it up again. So I can't hear your answers, and if you haven't, you'll need to do a share out with each other to kind of talk about this. And so Mrs. Stringer, you could run that and just give them a few minutes to kind of talk about this. But what I see is this is easy to develop empathy. For me to feel this baby. I love babies, and so looking at babies, most babies just have that thing about them where we're easily drawn into them, drawn into their story, drawn into understanding kind of where they're coming from. So it's easy to evoke or to feel empathy for a baby, for a newborn baby, especially a newborn baby that looks like they might be a preemie, and that means they were born a little bit early and now they're in the NIC unit. So in uh, this special tank to kind of protect them. I forget what it's actually called. So look at the next one, doggies. Look at these doggies. Again, these are little rescue doggies. So I want to do the same thing for this. So think about these pictures and pause the video and write down, maybe spend 2 minutes kind of writing down what you think and what you see when you look at this picture. Okay. And now hopefully you're starting the video up again. So this is easy. These are little rescue dogs, and look at them. They're so cute. And so we can look at this picture, right? And we can very easily have empathy, connecting with them, wanting to understand their story, kind of seeing things from how they might see it. Obviously, we're not a doggy, but again, we're able to connect with them. It's so cute, these little guys. Now take a look at this picture. I want you to do the same thing. So again, you're going to pause for a minute and you're going to tell me, what do you think? When you look at this picture, what do you think? What do you feel? So pause. Okay, so hopefully you're starting this up again. Maybe not quite as easy, right? Not quite as easy to connect with this picture. Not as easy to connect as we did with the baby or with those cute little doggies, right? So not as easy. What do we see? We see a homeless man. I know adults, maybe children, hopefully they don't, but already we start to pass judgment, right? So we start to think, well, why? What's going on? He's homeless. Maybe there's a reason for it, but we don't develop the empathy as easily as we did before. So what is empathy? And so take a look at my little Venn diagram here. So empathy means one person here is revealing. So we have the guy to the left, and he's revealing and he's talking about his story. Look at the guy on the right. He's listening. He's mindfully listening. He's paying attention. So the area there that crosses in between is the understanding, where the guy to the right is really listening to the guy on the left, and he's listening to his problem and he's trying to understand him. This is empathy. Sympathy is being able to understand and hear their story and kind of say, oh yeah, well that's too bad, but not relating to them. Empathy is very different, where you're hearing their story, but you're becoming more connected with it. And you are now starting to understand where they're coming from. So now that we do that, let's take a look again at our picture. So now I'm going to give you another minute. And again, pause the video. This time, try to look at him. Obviously, we can't talk to him, so we can't hear his story. But use the picture and take a look at the picture to see if you can't look at him a little bit differently as you did the first time around, and kind of think about it empathetically and think about what more might be going on with this guy. Okay, so hopefully you've started it up again. And again, if you haven't had a chance to chat about it, please pause and make sure you do take a few minutes to talk about all these things. But again, what is empathy? And this is very important. This is a huge part of the process for design thinking. And again, as I work with a lot of startup companies, and I work with some entrepreneurs. And a lot of things that they say that they're looking for in students, in candidates that they get to work for them, is number one question they ask: do they have empathy? Can you empathize with our customers to understand what is going on with them, what's wrong, in designing solutions for them? So this is why it's very important in the design process. This is where we start. We want to develop empathy for whatever problem we're dealing with. If we happen to have clients or people we were helping, we would want to develop empathy. And that means really listening to them, listening and understanding what they're saying and telling us. So that is the quick lesson on empathy. So now we're going to move on to defining the problem. Okay, here we go, on to the define step of the design process. So defining the problem. So here we go. I just want to show you, before we start, I'm going to show you a couple of examples of two things that students actually created that went out into the world and helped make a difference. So hashtag kids matter. And you really do. Kids do matter, and they do make a difference. So my objective here is to give you examples so that you see that throughout this process, you guys really could create something that could be out there in the world for people to use and to help. So here's an example of this little mobile incubator. And so this was a student that was at Stafford University, and they were asked to create a low-cost incubator for hospitals in Nepal. So an incubator, back to this picture when I said I couldn't remember the name of it, that's what this is. This is an incubator. And so hospitals have these incubators, and that's where preemies, or babies that maybe need help breathing, they need to keep their temperature up. They have to be in this incubator most of the time until they get stronger. So what this student started through researching and understanding the problem, the students started to understand that in Nepal, the biggest threat for these premature babies wasn't when they were in the hospital, because in the hospital, even the Nepal hospitals were able to put them in incubators and keep them safe. The biggest threat to these newborn babies were once they went home with their mothers to the village where there was no electricity. So that's where they started having a higher rate of baby deaths, and so babies dying, which is very, very sad. So this student uncovered that, and to realize that that truly was the real problem. And so they used empathy to connect with these mothers and to understand what's happening with these babies. And this student developed this little mobile incubator, as you see here, and actually has solar panels that help keep the electricity for it, which is really to keep the temperature up for the baby and to kind of be able to monitor, and it monitors their heart rate and different things. So that's one example of something that it was a university student, but that's okay. A student created this thing, this product, through the use of his empathy and being able to connect with them. And now this is a product that's actually being used and saving lives of all these little babies. So here's another thing. So I don't know if you've heard, it's called the garbage patches. And so there are vortexes, big areas of trash floating around our oceans. So I think there's about 7 of them now. It's very sad. It's very disheartening. Well, this student, not even sure how you say this name, so Bayan Slat, um, this is another student that researched and defined the problem of the garbage patches and all the trash floating around the oceans. And they had a school project. And so this is a student, and I'll just read it. They launched a project that analyzed the size and the amount of plastic particles in the ocean's garbage patches. So there's all this garbage that's floating out in the oceans. You may be researching this a little bit later today, but that's a lot. That's a big deal. And what happens is the sun shines on them all day and it breaks them down into these little small particles, these plastic particles. What's really bad about that is that the animals are eating these, and so animals are eating these and they're dying, and it's also getting into their systems, which then in turn harms humans as well, because we then eat the fish and things. So this is a huge problem. It's hard. You can't just put something out there because these are little small pieces of plastic, so you can't just catch these things with nets. It needed something a little bit deeper. So this student created this, and so he worked and researched and looked at the particles, the plastic particles in the garbage patches. And his final paper went on, as he came up with this idea for this mechanism. And as you see the picture here, I'm not even sure what they call it, but it's pretty awesome. He created this, wrote papers, and so he went on to win several prizes, including Best Technical Design in 2012 at the Delft University of Technology. And Bayan continued to develop his concept during the summer of 2012, and he revealed it several months later at a TED Talk. So that's pretty awesome. So he took his idea of his paper and did the research, became passionate about it, brought the project home, started working and developing, and probably working with someone to get it developed, and came out in 2012 after his summer with this device that I believe is being used to go around and collect the trash. So hashtag kids matter, and you guys, you really do. So that's kind of my 2 stories of inspiration for you, to show you that kids really can make a difference, and you guys have amazing ideas in your heads, more so than even adults do, because we just get older, we have to pay bills and work, and our brains just get a little bit hard, a little bit rigid. But kids are awesome. You guys are like sponges. You have the most amazing and awesome ideas. So that's our inspiration for you guys can make a difference, and you can do a good job with this project. So time to find out our problem. Okay, so let's get all stretched. We're going to kind of look at what problem are we going to look at. So your overall theme for your problems that you guys are going to look at are global environmental issues. So we have 3 global environmental issue problem statements for you. With each of these different statements, we want to look at how can we take better care of our environment and ensure a healthy ecosystem for generations, for our generation and also future generations to come. So we need your help to come up with some meaningful solutions that could benefit our global and local communities, because this really is a problem. So we're going to present 3 problem sets to you, and then you're going to get time to stop. Well, again, pause the video. There's a link to this so you can grab the digital version of it, and you're going to be able to, on your own, explore these different areas, these 3 different areas, to decide which one you happen to be most passionate about. So the first problem we're going to look at is climate change. Climate change entails a lot of different things and a lot of different factors kind of weaving into it. So our Earth is warming. It is. Our Earth's average temperature has risen 1.5 degrees Fahrenheit over the past century. So over the past 10 years, it's gone up that much. And it's projected to rise at least 0.5 to 8.6 degrees Fahrenheit over the next 100 years. That may seem like a small, minor thing to us, but even the smallest amount of changes in the average temperature of the planet can translate into large and potentially dangerous shifts in climates and weather. And this is something that we are seeing a lot more of, and we see these extreme storms happening. Florida is actually experiencing, it's called sunny day flooding. So their streets are starting to flood during the day because of the sea levels that are rising. So this is kind of one problem set that you can look at. And what you'll do is on this presentation, and once I get through the 3 of these, there's actually a link that you can go to, and I'll just pop out really quick to show you. You are going to look at here. So here's your problem set for climate change. And so again, I just started reading what was on here, but there's more stuff. It gives you a quick background. You're going to look at like, what are the challenges that we're seeing with this? What's the situation, like kind of what is happening with us right now in this situation? Who are the users? So who are the people that we would be helping with this, and kind of just some insights, and then your final problem statement. So you're going to do this for all 3. As you see, we have climate change. I'm going to talk about water scarcity, and then loss of biodiversity. Okay, so here's kind of a quick snapshot of it. Again, here's our climate change. Here are the issues. That might be one area that you want to focus on. Okay, the next one is problem number 2 that we're facing is water scarcity. So with water scarcity, water covers 70% of our planet. It's easy to think that it will always be plentiful, always be around, we'll always have plenty of it. However, fresh water, the stuff that we drink, that we bathe in, that we irrigate our farms and our farm fields with, it's incredibly rare. Only 3% of the world's water is fresh water, and 2/3 of that is tucked away in frozen glaciers that are otherwise unavailable for us to use. So this is an area that needs more researching. This might be something that you're passionate about. So you can look at this problem set. You'll look at all 3 problem sets, decide which one connects with you. But again, we want to pull in that empathy. We want to understand your story and then find what you connect with the most. So perhaps it's water scarcity. Finally, the last problem set that we're going to let you look at is our problem number 3 is loss of biodiversity. Biological diversity is the reason upon which families, communities, nations, and future generations depend on. Okay, biodiversity, all kinds of different life. That's what that means. Lots and lots of different life. So we see a lot of loss, a lot of like we're losing, a lot of things are becoming endangered. Our polar bears are close to becoming endangered. All kinds, our bees, our bees, we rely on that honey. We rely on the bees and their pollination. These are really big problems if bees do go extinct. So loss of biodiversity, while it may not seem to affect us, it really does. Think about the whole food cycle, the web cycle, or the food web. So all these things do have a play in humans and it will affect us in our daily lives, as well as we care about these animals and these creatures and we want to help protect them. So that might be something that you're very passionate about, okay? So what we're going to do now is, again, you're going to pause this and you can just go to, you don't have to do the HTTP even. You just are going to go to bit.ly/ENV problems. So environment problems, but it's just ENV problems. So you can pause this and make sure that you don't do this in the Google search area. You actually need to put this as your web address. So forget the HTTP, I should have taken that off, but just do the bit.ly/ENV problems, okay? And again, make sure it's not in the Google search bar, but it's actually at the top. So you guys can pause this, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna give you, think about 5 or 10 minutes. I guess Mrs. Stringer can kind of depend on that and how well you guys are looking through this. So our idea is first is an independent search. So you're going to get and look through these. There's different hyperlinks that will let you watch some videos and stuff. So you're going to look through these 3 problem sets and you're going to decide which one do you connect with most and which one are you going to focus on. So that's all you have to do. Read, research, learn, pick one of these statements. Okay, so pause and have fun doing that. Okay, so now we're assuming you have started this again. So each of you have your own individual problem set. So now what we want to do is we want to form teams based on your passion or based on the problem that you want to work on. Yeah, we may want to work with our friends, but it's more important that you find something that you're passionate about, because you don't want to work on a different problem if it's not something that you really care about. So we have our climate change, we have water scarcity, and we have loss of biodiversity. Okay, so you're going to find a team that has the same passion as you. So again, I'll have you guys pause this, and then Mrs. Stringer can have you have one corner be biodiverse or loss of biodiversity, the next corner be water scarcity, and another corner be climate change. You guys can go into those corners, and then you're going to form teams. So you want to form teams that are about 2 people, and I would say really no more than 4 people. Okay, so kind of 2 to 4 people. All right, so you can pause this now, get formed into your teams, and I'll talk with you soon. Okay, fantastic. Look at all these new fantastic teams. I can't wait to see them all in person. All right, so our next step of the design process is ideate, coming up with the ideas, right? So you have your problem. Sometimes that can be the hardest thing to even uncover. So these problem sets are really fantastic, I think. So now we have our problem, we have good background research on it, we kind of know what our challenges are, the situation, the users we're going to be looking at. So we need to start ideating or coming up with some ideas. And so notice my stars under the ideate. Okay, so here are some overall brainstorming rules. Okay, so we want to go for quantity at this point. Brainstorming is getting as many ideas as you can out there. So we want quantity, okay? So we want to just do as many as we can, and we'll walk through a different process here. So build with the yes and. So not like, oh yeah, we could do that, but you know, that costs a lot of money, or yeah, that's a good idea, but I don't really think that's smart. We don't want to do that to any of our team members or even to ourselves. When you're brainstorming, you want to let possibilities be out there. You want to think big. You want to dream big, right? So we want to think about climate change. I am extremely passionate about climate change. I want to make a difference. I want to know that we're going to work together to make a difference to slow climate change, if not stop it, because it's very important for all of us. So I want to think big. I don't want to be negative and be like, well, that's a good idea, but I don't think it's really going to work. Okay. We want yes and. Yes, yes. And we could do this. And we could do this, even if it seems like really big and out there. Okay. We want wild ideas. We're encouraging that with our friends. We're going to be visual. We're going to draw some pictures. Deferred judgment. That means we're not judging. We're not saying anything. We're not saying if it's a good idea or not, because we don't really know that, right? We're not judging our teammates. We're not judging ourselves. We're being open to all of the suggestions, right? So we're going to kind of assume a beginner's mindset. We have our problem. It's a big problem. We don't know where to even get started, right? So we're going to think of this very beginner mindset. Right, so we're going to go through a couple of different activities to get your brainstorming, get it flowing for you. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to have you sketch some ideas. So we're going to give you 1 minute, and you can work with your teammates. So you should have a big piece of chart paper in front of you. And so on this, I would find a corner on this chart paper that you might be able to start kind of drawing out some different ideas, or hopefully you have some post-it notes, and you could even draw some ideas on the post-it notes. And you can kind of talk with your partners. You can draw your own ideas. That's okay. Like ideally, each person though should have their own drawing that they can contribute onto the big chart paper. So hopefully this makes sense. All right, so you're going to get 1 minute. So here's my timer. You're going to get 1 minute. I'm actually going to start the timer, and I'm going to give you 1 minute to draw. So make sure everyone, you have all of your materials. Make sure you have a pencil. Just need a pencil and a piece of paper. So hopefully you have one big chart paper. And we're going to look at our problem. We're thinking about our problem, and we're dreaming big, right? So let's start drawing a solution. And again, this is all light. Like we're not trying to be hard on ourselves. So even if you're sitting there and you can't think of an idea, just relax and start drawing something, and just think about something like very big or very small. Okay, so you're going to get 1 minute, and you're going to draw some ideas of what you think you might come up with as a solution for your problem statement. All right. Are you guys ready? You can pause if you're not, but otherwise I'm actually going to start the timer, and I will do 1 full minute on the timer, recording it, I guess. Okay, here we go. Okay, so stop. A minute is up. That went pretty fast. If you feel like you want more time, I'll let Mrs. Stringer kind of run that and she can pause it and you guys can take a little bit more time to draw, kind of sketch up. All right, so we're going to move on to the next brainstorming activity, which is for the next minute, like we're going to go, like I said, we want you to think really, really big because that's where the great ideas come from. So for the next minute, every idea, you're going to write down ideas. So I would like you to write these on your Post-it note. So each person should be writing down their own ideas. You can kind of work as a team, but this is we want to get a lot of ideas. So I would like for each individual to kind of be doing their own and have a Post-it note and you're going to write down all the ideas. But every idea that you write down now has to require some magic. So think about some magic if we had access to a magic wand, right? That might make things a little bit easier. So let's think about that. So for the next minute, again, I'll start the timer and we'll time it out. But for the next minute, just write down all the ideas that you can that would involve magic. They have to involve some sort of magic that would be an answer to our problems. Okay, so here we go. Another minute. Are you guys ready? Show all your magic and your creativity. All right, go. All right, there you go. 1 minute is up. So hopefully you came up with some really awesome magical ideas. And I definitely want Mrs. Stringer to hold on to these when you guys are done so that I can take a look at all these fantastic ideas. Okay, are you ready for our next one? So our next brainstorming activity. Okay, so this next one, for the next minute, every idea that you come up with must actually cost more than $1 million to implement. Okay, so again, I want you thinking big. We want to think big. So you're going to spend a minute thinking outlandish ideas. So a solution that would cost over $1 million. So we're pretending like we have all the money in the world. Money is not a problem. Okay, so I've got my timer here. I'm just going to start. It's kind of over to the side, but are you ready? Again, you're going to take the Post-it note from the magic and put it on your big chart paper, and now grab another Post-it note. And if you run out of space, get another one after that, okay? So you're going to do another whole new Post-it note this time, and you're going to write down all the ideas that you have that would cost over $1 million to implement. That means to put into place, all right? Here we go. Go. All right. So that is 1 minute. Again, if you need more time, you can pause this and you can take a little more time, but otherwise, let's continue on with our lesson. Okay, so now we're going to kind of have free-form brainstorming, right? So now we've used those little small things to kickstart us, right? Our springboard to kind of get us going. So now there are no requirements. This is just free form brainstorming. Anything, you can sketch it. Obviously, we want to stick to maybe not so much magic because we want a realistic project that we can, or a solution product that we can get to. But we want to give you guys some more time. You may need to do some research a little bit more on your topic. That's okay if you need to do that, but we're going to just give you some more time to brainstorm here. So I put 5 minutes down on the timer. You guys can take longer than that. You can take 5 minutes or 10 minutes, but we want a bunch of ideas. So our idea, your objective or your goal right now is to just brainstorm as many ideas as you can, and you should be working with your teammates on this. Okay, so I'm not going to start the timer for this and just sit and wait, but you guys can. Again, I'll share this presentation with Mrs. Stringer. Plus, you can just look up a YouTube timer, set the phone timer. Okay, so you're going to do some more brainstorming with your partners. Have fun. Okay, so now the next step is, now that we have all these great ideas, we're going to look at we should have them on all of these different Post-it notes. If I didn't say that before, so make sure you're writing these on all these different Post-it notes and then putting it on your chart paper. So now what we're going to do is you're going to spend some time with your team and you're going to start organizing those. And so see if you see any patterns, right? Work through all of these Post-it notes. So you're going to put them, they're Post-it notes so that you can pick them up and you can move them, other than the ones that might be sketched on there. So you're going to pick up the Post-it notes, you're going to put them, see if there's any sort of pattern, if some of you had some similar ideas, okay? So, and as you do that, we're going to start narrowing down our ideas, right? So kind of looking at all of the ideas, all the possibilities, and then getting realistic, right? Remember that car with the idea of the paint forging over to the concrete car. So we're taking those great ideas, those paint splatters, and we're narrowing it and kind of getting it down closer to one actual solution that you will focus on. So this will be 10, maybe 5 minutes again, or 10 minutes. Up to you guys, however long you need. You're going to want to pause the video and you're going to work through this. But the idea is when you're all finished, you should ideally be down to one solution that you're going to focus on. This may take the rest of today's class and will most likely be as far as you get today. All right. But you can go ahead and pause this video and do your narrowing of ideas with your partners. Yep, and then we would move on to prototyping. So that is it. We are going to stop with that for today. Hey guys, it's me. So I hope that you enjoyed working through all of that. We can talk more. Hopefully you've gotten your brainstorming completed and you have gotten and narrowed down your our ideate phase of this, and we've narrowed it down to one idea, and that should be all that you have enough time for today in this class, if you've even made it this far. So I will do this again for next Friday because I won't be able to be there. So we'll continue on with the prototyping phase in those steps next, okay? So, okay. That's it. I'm glad I got to help you guys today. Hopefully this video helped you work through this design process, getting started, and I'm really excited to see what you came up with. All right, and have a great weekend and be safe and be good. Bye.